Celeste. This is a game that received enormous amounts of praise on release, enormous. There are so many video essays on this game, celebrating everything from its immersive soundtrack to its intuitive control scheme to its riveting narrative. And in fact, if you play Celeste for more than 10 minutes, all of these things are immediately evident. But while these individual elements might be amazing, I find myself wondering, was the game actually any fun? I'm Blitzen Cross, and today I'm taking a look at Celeste. Now, there are two things you notice when you first boot up Celeste. The first is that it's very atmospheric. The music and the sounds and the general aesthetic hit you from the word go. This is a game that cares deeply about its narrative. The other thing that hits you is that's right, this game is really hard. It's in that category of games like Super Meat Boy and Fury that are meant to make you rage and make you frustrated, and reward you by relieving that frustration and replacing it with a sense of achievement. And there's the first problem, right? These two things conflict. It's difficult to tell a good, compelling story when you are actively trying to make your player feel frustration and anger. This is because in most games, story and gameplay are independent. The reward for succeeding at gameplay is usually a segment of story, and in most story-driven games, you are going from place to place, seeking out more story as a reward for exploration and mastery of mechanics. If those mechanics are really hard though, and you're frustrated and you've just done a task 500 times, then you're going to lose interest in the narrative. And this is the reason that most games that are really hard don't bother to offer a very deep or compelling narrative. In fact, they even go out of their way to brand themselves in a silly or less or non-serious manner. These games advertise that they're made for a particular audience, and that is an audience who can tolerate and even enjoy the process of overcoming high amounts of frustration. So it seems as though Celeste is setting itself up to fail from the get-go with its premise. But this is where the game ends up shining instead of failing. Whereas most other games of this type lean into the frustration and embrace it, Celeste actually works to limit it. It rather brilliantly sections off a lot of the true difficulty with strawberries. If you don't want to collect the strawberries, you don't have to deal with many of the most frustrating segments of the game. There seems to be this attitude that Celeste has that, hey, it's not worth being frustrated, don't dwell, just keep playing what you want to play. A really key example of this is the way death is handled in Celeste. If you die in many hard games, you have to go back, either back to the beginning of the level or back to the start of the game. There is some sort of consequence for your death. In Celeste, that is not the case. In fact, the music doesn't even stop when you die. There is literally no fanfare. The game and its narrative just continue, as if nothing has happened, as if nothing has gone wrong. On top of this attitude, Celeste also has an attitude of embracing learning. And this is really helpful, because learning is intrinsically fun for most people, especially figuring out how to do something on your own and then doing it. That is an immensely rewarding experience, and is to some extent the reason why we play games, a lot of games. Celeste constantly teaches you new mechanics, so you're always busy learning. Then it presents multiple ways for you to proceed in each area, to tell you, hey, you learned how to do this, now exercise that learning in your own way. Celeste may be a precision platformer, but you don't always need to do things precisely or in the same way every time. This makes the gameplay feel more rewarding and thus enjoyable, even when it's very difficult. And the game takes this even further. Instead of just having you learn, it has you learn without dedicated tutorials. The game allows you to figure out mechanics on your own. It's part of the game's overall strategy to highlight the story and minimize frustration. A lot of games are split into three parts. There are tutorials teaching you how to play the game or learn a new mechanic. There are sections where you play the game, and then there are story sections. But not in Celeste. Instead, you never really get a break from the story, even when you're learning or playing the game, because everything is happening at once. The story is presented through the atmosphere, and the story is about this mountain that you are actually actively playing the game on. So in this way, the story is told through the gameplay. Some of the mechanics are even derived from the story, like Madeline facing her reflection or using a feather to go up the mountain. And the elements that teach you the mechanics are integrated into the world. There are traffic lights early on to tell you that you can use the momentum to propel yourself from one block to another. So you're learning as you're playing the game, and you're playing the game as you're getting the story, all at the same time. And this is really the magic of Celeste. I really don't enjoy games that are too hard. I like challenge, but too much and I'm probably tuned out. But I really enjoyed Celeste, and I had fun almost the entire way through the main story. And the reason for that is because I was pursuing the narrative and enjoying the atmosphere in parallel with playing the game. And because these things do happen in parallel, because of the tight integration between individually amazing aspects of the game, because the soundtrack is amazing and the control scheme is intuitive and the narrative is riveting, and all of that is happening at once simultaneously, I have to say Celeste was actually really fun, even if hard games like this are not your genre.